Have you been thinking about going into business for yourself, but you're struggling to determine if you should start an LLC, an S Corp or a C Corp, or a nonprofit organization? Well, in this video, we'll give you everything you need to know so you can determine if you want to start a for-profit or a nonprofit organization. We'll be discussing the differences and similarities in formation and structure, profit distribution, taxation, as well as the key benefits to have a for-profit or nonprofit organization. What's going on, guys? My name is Timothy Wright. I'm the founder and CEO of the Nonprofit Launcher, and we get the question all the time: should I start a for-profit or should I start a nonprofit organization? So let's first talk about an LLC. An LLC is also known as a limited liability company. This is going to be a for-profit business that allows individuals like yourself and myself to have limited liability on our names. So for example, my name is Timothy Wright. Let's say if I had an LLC and I was in real estate and I bought a property, and this property was not attached to any company, it was just bought and owned by Timothy Wright. Anything that goes on in the time someone is in that house, if I was to get sued, for example, they would have access to sue Timothy Wright and all the assets that Timothy Wright personally owns. But if I had that same tenant who rented out that same property, but that property was under a limited liability company, that limited liability company will protect me from all my personal assets. And if they were to sue me for whatever it may be, they would only have access to the assets that my business has, but it protects me from my personal assets. That's a limited liability company. So I'm gonna read this here to you. An LLC provides a balance of liability protection, tax flexibility, operational simplicity, making it a popular choice for small business and entrepreneurs. So the purpose of an LLC allows anyone to become an entity, but protects them from all their personal assets and be able to make as much money as they like as an organization. Understanding that we live in this capitalism economic system, with you having a business, you can create any business model and sell anything that you want as long as it's lawful and long as it's ethical. Now, what is a nonprofit? A nonprofit organization is a type of business entity that operates for the purposes other than generating a profit for its owners or its shareholders. Instead, the primary goal of a nonprofit is to fulfill a charitable, educational, religious, or literacy or a scientific mission that benefits the public or a specific community. So before launching a nonprofit, you want to ensure that this business entity is mission driven. Mission driven meaning, very simply, you plan to address a social, cultural, or educational community need. And all your activities, your programs, your services, and products, they align with further producing your organization's mission. Another reason to possibly start your nonprofit is funding opportunity. So unlike an LLC or an S Corp, once you become a 501c3, you're open up to federal grants, local grants, and also community grants. But then you're also in a position to get sponsorships, in-kind donations, or donations from the public. And as long as you have this 501c3 certification, your organization doesn't have to pay any taxes on the revenue it generates. Now, this could be a huge benefit for you and your donors, because all the money that your organization generates, there's no taxes on it, but then all the money that's donated to your organization, the donors also get a tax deduction on their taxes for their charitable contribution. So a couple of differences between a for-profit business and a nonprofit organization is your for-profit business, all the money that you make will be taxed. Now, of course, you can have an office space, you can have a camera, cell phone, and all these things could be considered as a business expense, allowing you to have a write-off, which is a much better benefit than you being an employee. But when it comes to your nonprofit, with you having this 501c3 certification, everything that you do inside your organization, as long as it's aligned with your mission, is going to be considered a write-off. So if you had a car under your nonprofit, the payment will be considered a write-off. If you had a property under your nonprofit, you wouldn't have to pay property tax. And depending on what state you're in, if you file for Form AP 205, then you can also avoid the state sales tax as well. Another key difference between a for-profit business and a nonprofit organization is the governance. A for-profit business is going to be owned. So if you're thinking about starting an LLC, you're going to be 100% owner of the organization, or if you partner up with somebody, you guys will go 50-50, 60-40, whichever you choose. But with your nonprofit, there's no owners. There's you, the founder of the organization, or the co-founder if you partner with somebody, and then there's your board members, and as a collective, you guys govern your nonprofit. Your board of directors or trustees will provide oversight and strategic direction, and most board members are volunteers who don't receive compensation until the company grows. Now, the biggest difference between a for-profit business and a nonprofit organization is profit profit distribution. Nonprofits do not distribute profits to their owners or their shareholders because, for one, there's no owners. Any of the surplus funds generated are to be reinvested back into the organization to support the mission and activities. So this means if your nonprofit generates $1 million this year, you don't go buy a Ferrari, you don't go buy a mansion. You want to use those funds to further produce your organization's mission. Now, does it take people to further produce your organization's mission? Yes. So this means that you can be added to payroll. You and your board can vote on who's being compensated from your organization depending on the volume of the work that you guys are doing. And yes, as a CEO, as the founder of your nonprofit, you definitely can be compensated. As for an LLC, any money that hits the bank account, you're allowed to do whatever you desire with that money. Of course, you want to make sure that you're running the business properly. We always suggest that you put at least 10 to 15% of every dollar that you touch into a tax account just so you can pay your taxes when it's time. We recommend another 10 to 15% for capital expenditures, just in case something was to happen in the business. You want to always be prepared for unexpected activities. We recommend you put another 5 to 10% aside for savings. And then the rest of those funds goes towards payroll or whatever you desire to do with the business. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that there's a lot of similarities in how a nonprofit can invest and how a for-profit business can invest. Both of these entities can have stocks and bonds, mutual funds and EFTs, a real estate portfolio. Obviously, the nonprofit, there's not going to be any property tax for all the real estate that you own as long as it's further producing your organization's mission. CDs and savings accounts, private equity and venture capitalism, endowment funds, as well as partners in joint ventures. Both of these business entities can participate heavily in all of those investment strategies just mentioned. And last but not least, the key differences between a for-profit business like an LLC and a nonprofit organization is the structure. It's going to be very easy for you to file your organization directly with the state. It's going to be very inexpensive at that. You can pick any name you want. You can sell any products you want, create any type of business model that you desire as a for-profit organization. As a nonprofit organization, there's going to be a lot more compliances and regulations that you have to abide by. The name can't just be any name. If it's a name that's already chosen in your state, that's going to be a name that's already selected, and you won't be able to do that. With an LLC, it could be multiple businesses with the exact same name. With your nonprofit, when you're filing for your 501c3, you'll need something called an NTEE code. This NTEE code is very similar to a NAICS code for a organization that's a for-profit. And this is going to determine the type of organization that you are. But once they make that determining factor that your organization is a P90, for example, you can look down below in our nonprofit starter kit and look at the NTE checklist to see exactly what we're talking about. But if that's what the IRS certified your organization to be, then there's going to be laws, rules, and regulations that you must uphold for this particular type of NTEE code. So as we wrap up here, the 5 key differences between a for-profit and a nonprofit organization is going to be its purpose, the financial structure, how the businesses are governed, the differences in tax status, and profit distribution. So if you have a job right now and you want to start a business so you can make money and leave that job, maybe a nonprofit isn't the best option for you. Maybe you can start an LLC, create some revenue generating activities for yourself, and then create a foundation and then donate a percentage of your revenue, of your profit to that foundation, and then go from there. Or if you're not that focused on you making money personally, but you still want to make a difference to your community, put yourself in a position to get grants, sponsorships, donations, and maybe a nonprofit is for you. But let me make sure I say one thing so you know this. Just because you start a nonprofit, this does not guarantee you a grant. Can you write that down, please? Just because you start a nonprofit, you filed to become a 501c3, this does not guarantee you winning a grant. This is very important for you to understand. There's 1.6 million active nonprofits. The IRS just dropped a newsletter saying that last year they filed 95,000 501c3 applications. So I definitely want you to know there is competition whether you're in a for-profit space or the nonprofit space, but there's billions of people here and there's enough space and opportunity for you to succeed whether you launch a for-profit organization or a nonprofit organization. So again, my name is Timothy Wright. I want to encourage you to make a decision and keep a decision. The biggest nation in the world is procrastination. Whether it's going to be a for-profit business or nonprofit organization, get started. There is people out there who are waiting on you, who need you. Think about all the business ideas that have been created and have provided opportunity for millions of people. Imagine if Jeff Bezos procrastinated with Amazon. Imagine if Warren Buffett procrastinated with Berkshire Hathaway. Imagine if Elon Musk procrastinated with Tesla. How many people will be out of jobs today? Think about that for yourself. You are the next Elon Musk. You're the next Warren Buffett. You're the next Jeff Bezos. Whether it be in a for-profit space or the nonprofit, you can do it. I believe in you. I respect you. We're signing off until we see you again. Peace.